Dear audience, in this episode, I would like to explore why we are eating ourselves to death. Food has become an addiction and has some interesting ancient stories to reflect on overeating and gluttony. Also, why it is a bigger risk for humanity. I have witnessed overindulgence of food by modern societies across every region, which is a reflection to our ancient history. During ancient times, the gluttony and overindulgence was done by a minority of rich, wealthy, and high-status people. But in our modern times, majority of humanity is eating more than their bodies need, creating a society of unhealthy minds and bodies. Humans evolved with subconscious urge to overeat, especially in the winter time. If you're finding it difficult to resist food cravings and the urge to overindulge, you can blame your evolutionary ancestry. The human body and our subconscious mind has evolved to perceive weight gain as a success. Ancient Greeks and Romans documented more about our obsession towards food and our overindulgence towards eating and entertaining. Adaphagia in ancient Greek mythology was the goddess and symbol of gluttony. Adaphagia was mentioned in ancient history as having a temple on the island of Sicily, at which she was worshipped alongside Demeter, goddess of corn. Adaphagia was the Greek personification of gluttony. She was regarded as a goddess of bountiful harvests rather than of excessive eating. Adaphagia name means gluttony. She was probably worshipped as a goddess of agricultural bounty rather than overindulgence or self-indulgence. Greeks taught the Romans not only philosophy but also feasting. Greek meetings and conversations were imitated by Roman elites, and the tables were simply laden with dishes, the splendor of which can be seen in the examples of the preserved cookbook of Epictetus. Members of the Roman upper classes regularly indulged in lavish, hours-long feasts that served to broadcast their wealth and status in ways that eclipse our notions of an impressive meal. Eating was the supreme act of civilization and celebration of life. From the chronicles, we learn that during the reign of Nero, the Roman emperor, there lived a glutton named Harpocras, who ate a roasted wild boar, a live hen with feathers, 100 eggs, 100 mussels, young shoots from a palm branch, a suckling piglet, a bundle of hay, all in one sitting. Surprisingly, he was still hungry. The other standout glutton was Vitellius, one of the rulers of the so-called Year of the Four Emperors, around 69 AD. His carcass aroused contempt among the people of the time. So when he was being dragged to death, people laughed at his ever-purple face and huge belly, throwing dung at him. The ancients despised obese people because of intemperance, which was perceived as one of the most important human vices, and often occurred among the elites. This doesn't change the fact that eating huge amounts of food could arouse admiration and become a repeated curiosity to non-elites. Ancient Romans used the word vomitorium. A vomitorium is a room where ancient Romans went to throw up lavish meals so they could return to the table and feast some more. Actually, the vomitorium was simply the passage that spectators used to easily reach their seats in the Colosseum or theater. The corridor was named vomitorium because it spat out all the spectators, sometimes over 100,000 people that came to the Colosseum or amphitheater. Given banquets were a status symbol and lasted for hours deep into the night. Vomiting was a common practice needed to make room in the stomach for more food. The ancient Romans were really pursuing life's pleasures to extremities. It was in fact customary to leave the table to vomit in a room close to the dining hall. By using a feather, revelers would tickle the back of their throats to stimulate the urge to vomit. In keeping with their high social status, defined by not having to engage in manual labor, guests would simply return to the banquet hall while slaves cleaned up their mess. It seems like the history of bulimia is old. Even in ancient Rome, people used to vomit up food they ate in the period of feasting. Bloating was reduced by eating lying down on a comfortable cushioned chaise lounge. The horizontal position was believed to aid digestion, and it was the utmost expression of an elite standing. The Romans actually ate lying on their bellies, so the body weight was evenly spread out and helped them relax. The left hand held up their head, while the right one picked up the morsels placed on the table, bringing them to the mouth. So they ate with their hands, and the food had to be already cut by slaves. One explained source was from Seneca, the Stoic who lived from 4 BC to 65 AD, gave the impression that Romans were a vomiting bunch. In one passage, he wrote of slaves cleaning up the vomit of drunks at the banquets, and in his letter to Helvia, his mother, he summarized the vomitorium idea, what he saw as the excesses of Rome. They vomit so they may eat, and eat so that they may vomit. Another ancient source said that Julius Caesar was known to leave the diner area to vomit. A literary masterpiece, the Satyricon, captures this typical social dynamic of Roman society in mid-1st century AD with the character of wealthy Trimalchio, who tells a slave to bring him a piss pot so he can urinate. In other words, when nature calls, revelers didn't necessarily go to the bathroom. Often it came to them, powered again by slave labor. The Romans were also very superstitious. Anything that fell from the table belonged to the afterworld and was not to be retrieved for fear that the dead would come seeking vengeance, while spilling salt was a bad omen. Bread had to be solely touched with the hands, and eggshells, mollusks had to be cracked. Where a roaster to sing at an unusual hour, servants were sent to fetch one, kill it, and serve it pronto, quickly. Feasting was a way to keep death at bay. Banquets ended with a binge drinking ritual during which diners discussed death to remind themselves to fully live and enjoy life. In keeping with this worldview, table objects such as salt and pepper holders were shaped as skulls. It was customary to invite beloved dead ones to the meal and serve them platefuls of food. Sculptures representing the dead sat at the table with the living. It's a striking illustration of gluttony and waste, and one that makes its way into modern times. For example, the Hunger Games series alludes to vomitoriums when the lavish inhabitants of the capital, all with Latin names like Flavia and Octavia, imbibe a drink to make them vomit at parties, so they can gorge themselves on more calories than citizens in the surrounding districts would see in months. In our modern times, we are overeating as an escape. Another addiction we picked up to deal with our inadequacies of life. So, why do we overeat? Some of the reasons: it's convenience and temptation, social facilitation, poor sleep, mindless eating by not being aware, processed food and fast food being part of our lives. We eat when it's time to eat, rather than eat when our body is hungry. We listen to our mind rather than our body when it comes to food habits of overindulgence. A healthy mind with regular physical activity will lead to healthy food and healthy lifestyle. Remember this: everything in moderation will lead to peace, pleasantness, and contentment in life. Thank you for listening, and enjoy your next meal being aware of overindulgence. Tune into your hunger levels and only eat when you're hungry. Pause during the meal to think about how it tastes and how full you are. Enjoy the meal by not overindulgence. Take care and look after yourself. Thank you for listening to my podcast, Conscious Living. Experience the joy within you. Please check out my book, The True Self. Unlock the chaos in you. It is a timeless journey of teachings from across history and all cultures. A personal journey through universal wisdom. The book is available on Amazon in majority of the countries across the globe. Please subscribe to my podcast, Conscious Living, at Spotify for my next episode. Take care of yourself.